Welcome to the Senior Techie Podcast. I want you to picture someone for a second. Let's call her Carol. She is 72 years old, and she just officially retired.
Oh, that's a huge milestone.
It is. The office party is over. The heartfelt speeches have been given, and, the goodbye cake has been completely eaten.
Right.
And she is thrilled to finally have her time to herself.
Okay.
But then, somewhere between washing that last cake plate and waking up on her very first quiet Monday morning of retirement, a really heavy thought creeps in.
Yeah, the reality sets in.
Exactly. She starts wondering, well, what happens now? Like, what happens if her knees, which have been bothering her for years, finally just give out?
Or what if her memory starts slipping just a little bit?
Right. Or what if her husband suddenly needs more physical help around the house than she can safely provide on her own?
It's a really profound and honestly an incredibly common pivot point. You
Right.
transition instantly from the celebration of a major life milestone directly into just this quiet, solitary realization of your own vulnerabilities.
Yeah, it hits you all at once.
No. And the most frustrating part of Carol's creeping anxiety there is that it doesn't come with a practical instruction manual.
No, it certainly doesn't. I mean, instead of a manual, what you actually get is a scattered, unorganized mess.
Right, a bunch of paperwork.
Exactly. You get a highly clinical diagnosis from a specialist who only has, 15 minutes to speak with you. Then you get a dense 80-page Medicare pamphlet in the mail that reads like a legal contract.
Which nobody actually reads.
Nobody. And then, you get some well-meaning cousin giving you anecdotal advice that is entirely medically inaccurate.
Oh, always.
To me, the current state of advice for older adults feels exactly like a messy kitchen junk drawer.
A junk drawer. Yeah, I like that.
Right. You open it up desperately needing a single functional tool, and instead you're blindly sifting through random pamphlets, old rubber bands, and totally useless advice, just digging around in the dark hoping to find a solution.
The junk drawer is actually the perfect visualization of the modern healthcare and aging landscape.
It really is.
Because the medical and legal systems operate in these highly specific silos, right? So they just throw their individual pieces of information into your drawer and expect you to organize it.
Which is impossible to do when you're stressed.
Exactly. But aging doesn't have a single magical tool you can just pull out to fix everything.
Yeah.
People try to address worries like Carol's as isolated incidents, like, oh, I'll just fix my knee.
Right. As if the knee is the only issue.
But your knee isn't an isolated problem. Aging is an ecosystem. It is an interconnected biological and logistical system that requires really careful balancing.
And this is exactly why we rely on that framework we always talk about, the 8 pillars of aging well.
Yes, the 8 pillars.
And those pillars cover the entire spectrum of life. You have physical health, mental and emotional health, memory and cognitive care, daily living and personal care.
Then there's housing, financial, and legal planning.
Right. Caregiver support. And finally, social connection and purpose.
Exactly, those 8.
But, if you're listening to this right now, you are probably thinking tackling 8 massive life categories at once sounds terrifying.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah, it sounds like this overwhelming, impossible checklist.
Which is exactly why we need to stop looking at them as a checklist. I mean, they are an ecosystem. Think of the 8 pillars like a sealed biological terrarium.
Okay, a terrarium.
Right. If you change the temperature inside a terrarium, you immediately alter the humidity. And that humidity dictates how much water the plants get.
Which obviously impacts the soil chemistry.
Exactly. They are in constant dynamic conversation with one another.
I really love that terrarium analogy, or even like a Jenga tower, right? Because it perfectly illustrates the causality we see every single day.
Right. Pulling one block out changes everything.
Let's say you ignore a minor mobility issue, it would be your physical health pillar. Because your mobility declines, you suddenly can't navigate the stairs in your split-level home.
So now your housing pillar is compromised.
Exactly. And because your housing is suddenly unsafe, you are forced to make a rushed, panicked move into an assisted living facility.
Which is never cheap.
No. That hasty move instantly drains your retirement savings, fracturing the financial pillar. And because your finances are drained, your stress skyrockets, which completely destabilizes your mental health pillar.
It's a total domino effect.
Right, triggered by a single ignored variable.
Exactly. And on the flip side, a family member stepping in to help might completely ignore their own caregiver support pillar.
Which happens all the time.
Right. They don't take a break, they don't seek respite care, and eventually they just burn out structurally and emotionally.
Yeah.
And when the caregiver collapses, they can no longer provide care, which instantly triggers a crisis in the daily living pillar of the person they were trying to protect in the first place.
You literally cannot alter one condition without the entire terrarium reacting.
Nope, it's impossible.
But wait, if everything is this intimately connected, I mean, how do you even begin to intervene without triggering a collapse? It feels incredibly overwhelming. It is totally understandable to feel paralyzed by that level of interconnectivity.
It is entirely understandable. And, if you are feeling that paralysis right now, data has a wonderful way of proving that you are not alone.
Oh, absolutely. The numbers don't lie.
Right. The gap between caring about our aging process and actually knowing the mechanisms of what to do is massive.
Right.
Let's look at the memory and cognitive care pillar. The statistics on the brain health gap are genuinely staggering.
How do they look like?
Well, research shows that nearly 100% of older adults say protecting their brain health is a top priority.
Sure, everyone wants to stay sharp.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yet only about 9% feel they actually understand how to protect it.
Wait, really? Only 9%?
It's just 9%.
That is a fascinating disconnect. So 91% of people are walking around knowing neurocognitive health is vital, but feeling entirely unequipped to maintain it.
Yeah.
And when you look at why that gap exists, honestly, it's a failure of translation.
Absolutely.
The clinical science is there. I mean, we know how neuroplasticity works. We know the profound impact of cardiovascular exercise on brain volume.
But people don't hear about that.
No. By the time that science reaches the consumer, it has been distorted by conflicting media headlines and predatory advertisements for unregulated memory supplements.
Right. The signal just gets lost in the noise.
Totally.
Precisely. The scientific reality isn't making it into the living room. And when we look at the sheer scale of health and caregiving, that lack of practical translation becomes a systemic crisis.
Yeah, because we're talking about millions of people.
Right now, 93% of adults over the age of 65 live with at least one chronic condition.
Wow. That is nearly universal.
It is. And 79% live with 2 or more overlapping chronic conditions.
Which goes right back to the terrarium analogy.
Exactly. This means the vast majority of older adults are managing complex, interacting medical needs. And because of this, the scale of caregiving in this country has just exploded.
It's everywhere.
Right now, roughly 63 million Americans are acting as caregivers. That is 1 in 4 adults.
Wait, 1 in 4 adults are caregivers?
1 in 4.
And that number is up by 20 million just since 2015. But, here's the critical friction point with all this. So much of the traditional advice in that junk drawer we talked about assumes that families all live nearby.
Which is such an outdated assumption.
It is. The legacy healthcare models are written for a world where your support system lives in the exact same neighborhood.
Right, just down the street.
Yeah, and that advice is completely structurally useless for a modern family where, the adult children live 3 states away. Their primary method of checking in is looking through a phone screen instead of walking through the front door.
You are hitting on a massive systemic lag there. Government agencies, public health policies, legacy healthcare systems, they take decades to adapt.
They move so slowly.
They simply have not caught up to the geographic mobility of the modern workforce.
Right?
Families are spread out across multiple time zones, which means we have to rely on a different infrastructure to bridge that physical gap. We have to rely heavily on technology.
And just saying the word technology can make people instantly tense up.
Oh, absolutely.
And we have to validate that frustration because, let's be honest, a lot of technology marketed to seniors is objectively terrible.
It is so bad.
It is often developed under these agile engineering models by people in Silicon Valley who prioritize rapid deployment over accessibility.
Right.
They have never actually sat in a room and watched how an 80-year-old user interacts with a complicated, hostile interface.
It is a total failure of user-centric design.
Yeah.
We expect older adults to adapt to the technology rather than demanding the technology adapt to the user.
Which is backwards.
Completely. And this is why separating the genuinely helpful tools from the frustrating noise is a core mission of what we do at the Senior Techie.
So let's filter out some of that noise right now by looking at the mechanisms behind the technology.
Let's do it.
We need to define the confusing jargon that gets thrown around, and we need to understand exactly how it actually works.
Using real-world terms, yeah.
Right. Let's start with the phrase login screen, which, it sounds basic, but it has evolved into a nightmare of authentication friction.
Oh, the modern login screen is a perfect example of technology becoming actively hostile. When we talk about login screens today, we are really talking about multi-factor authentication, or MFA.
Right. And to visualize how frustrating MFA is, imagine your front door is a heavy bank vault.
Okay, a bank vault.
To get into your own house, to simply check if you left the stove on, you don't just turn a key. First, you have to enter a passcode that must contain a specialized symbol.
Which you've probably forgotten.
Obviously. Then, the vault demands a fingerprint. Then, it sends a secret 6-digit code to a separate mailbox down the street, and you have exactly 60 seconds to run down, grab the code, and enter it before the vault locks down entirely.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. It is high-level cybersecurity, which is important for preventing fraud, sure, but the mechanism creates a massive barrier to entry. The security keeps you, the rightful owner, locked out of your own digital ecosystem.
That is the exact friction point. It is security at the total expense of usability.
Exactly.
Another term that carries a lot of anxiety is AI companion.
Oh, yeah. That scares people.
You might hear about platforms like Eloque and immediately picture a dystopian sci-fi robot designed to take over your home.
It sounds incredibly isolating and a little creepy, honestly.
Right. But the actual mechanism of an AI companion is much more like a highly trained, voice-activated concierge, or even like a seeing eye dog for your conversations and your schedule.
A seeing eye dog, how so?
Well, it sits quietly, it keeps you on track with reminders, and it offers friendly interaction. It utilizes proactive large language models.
You meaning what, exactly?
Meaning, it doesn't just sit there waiting for you to push a button. It learns your behavioral patterns. It knows when you usually wake up. It knows when your medication is due. And it proactively initiates conversation.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. It might notice you haven't spoken in a few hours and gently ask if you'd like to play a trivia game or if you've remembered to drink a glass of water.
That's a great analogy. It uses natural language processing to create a seamless voice-first interface.
Exactly. There are no passwords to type or tiny screens to tap. It removes the mechanical friction of computing and replaces it with natural conversation.
That makes so much more sense. Now, let's look at the mechanism behind a fall detection wearable.
Oh, this is one of the most misunderstood pieces of technology out there.
It really is. A lot of people think a fall detection device is just a plastic button on a lanyard that you have to physically press if you need help.
The old, I've fallen and I can't get up buttons.
Right, exactly. But the modern wearables, which usually sit on your wrist, are infinitely more sophisticated. They are basically a personal automatic smoke alarm for your balance.
A smoke alarm for balance. I love that.
Yeah, because they contain microelectromechanical systems specifically, tiny accelerometers, and barometric pressure sensors.
And those sensors are constantly gathering data about your body's position in space.
Right. Think of it like an internal, highly sensitive gyroscope combined with a weather station.
A weather station.
Yeah. The accelerometer measures sudden shifts in your momentum, but it is the barometric sensor that is the real magic. It measures atmospheric pressure.
Oh, wow.
So if the device senses that your wrist has dropped 3 feet toward the floor in a fraction of a second, the barometric sensor confirms the sudden change in air pressure.
Because the air pressure is different near the floor than it is when you're standing up.
Exactly. The algorithm instantly cross-references that data and realizes, okay, this wasn't someone swinging their arm or sitting down on the couch quickly. This was a physiological fall.
That is incredible.
Right. It then automatically dials emergency services and alerts your family. It works even if you are unconscious and completely unable to push a button yourself.
That mechanism completely shifts the burden of emergency response. It gives the caregiver living 3 states away profound peace of mind, knowing there is a passive safety net constantly analyzing the physical environment.
It's life-changing.
And finally, we have the Virtual Senior Center.
Which is not just a standard Zoom link, by the way.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
A Virtual Senior Center is a curated, secure digital ecosystem. It is designed to mimic the physical community bulletin board and the local gathering hall.
But without the commute.
Exactly. Instead of having to bundle up, arrange transportation, and navigate icy sidewalks just to socialize, you turn on a tablet designed specifically for accessibility.
You just open a window in your living room, essentially.
Right. Through that portal on your screen, you have instant access to live fitness classes, moderated discussion groups, and interactive games with your peers.
And we aren't just discussing neat theoretical gadgets here.
No, we are looking at documented causality.
Right. Rigorous research, verified by state aging office programs, shows that users engaging with virtual senior centers and AI companions like Eloque report highly measurable, documented drops in clinical loneliness and depression markers.
It genuinely improves their quality of life.
But I want to push back on this heavily for a second because, you are probably listening right now and feeling a deep sense of unease.
But which is fair.
If we are using algorithms to proactively talk to older adults and screens to simulate gathering halls, are we just replacing ourselves?
That's the big fear.
Right. How do we ensure we use this technology as a bridge to real people rather than a cheap, scalable replacement for family connection?
That is the most vital, ethical, and structural question of this entire space. Technology must never be viewed as the destination.
I agree.
It is strictly the conduit. An AI companion is a tool to sustain an individual's cognitive engagement between human
It
interactions.
fills the gaps.
Exactly. A video portal is the bridge that allows the daughter living across the country to seamlessly see her father's face and notice subtle visual cues like a change in his skin tone or the fact that his eyes look tired that she would completely miss on a standard audio phone call.
Right, you get so much more context.
The technology is just the pavement on the bridge. The human connection, the empathy is the actual traffic flowing across it.
It facilitates the connection. It doesn't synthesize it. I really like that distinction.
Thank you.
So what does this all mean for you practically? Now that we understand this complex terrarium of the 8 pillars and we've identified the mechanisms of how non-frustrating tech can actually bridge the geographic gap, how do we apply this knowledge moving forward?
Well, we implement an action plan framework.
Okay, lay it out for us.
Moving forward, as you encounter challenges within those 8 pillars, you approach them methodically. First, you name the problem plainly. You refuse to hide behind medical jargon or complicated tech speak.
Keep it simple.
Second, you look strictly at what the clinical research and credible data actually dictate, filtering out the anecdotal noise.
You essentially dump out the junk drawer and only put back the tools that are proven to work.
Precisely. And most importantly, you end every single analysis with an actionable step.
Something real.
Yes, something you can literally wake up and execute the next morning, rather than just an abstract philosophy to ponder.
Right.
And within this framework, we prioritize honesty over perfection. There are no perfect one-size-fits-all answers in aging.
There rarely are.
The most honest, empowering advice we can offer as your deeply knowledgeable friends is often, it depends on the unique variables of your specific ecosystem, but here's the exact framework you need to calculate the answer for yourself.
So if we were looking at the 8 pillars, where does this framework actually begin? Like, out of all 8, which one is the starting line?
The absolute starting point must be physical health.
Okay, why that one first?
We focus our energy there first because it is the foundation. It's the metabolic engine of your entire ecosystem.
Oh, I see. It's like building a house.
Exactly like that.
You can't start hanging pictures and painting the walls, which would be your social connection pillar, if you haven't poured a solid concrete foundation of physical health first.
That's exactly it. Look at the causality there. Without the physical engine running properly, the other pillars lack the energy to function.
Right.
You cannot maintain your social connection pillar if your unmanaged chronic pain prevents you from leaving the house.
Or your financial pillar, if a preventable condition results in catastrophic medical expenses.
Precisely. If the physical engine stalls, the housing decisions become panicked, the mental health plummets, and the caregiver burden skyrockets. The biology dictates the logistics.
It really does all route back to that profound interconnectivity.
It does. You stabilize the physical engine first, and then you have the bandwidth and the resources to balance the remaining pillars, utilizing the proper technological tools to maintain that balance across long distances.
It takes the absolute chaos of aging and turns it into a logical, manageable process.
That's the goal.
As we wrap up this conversation on the aging ecosystem, we want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to mull over on your own.
Right. Something to take away with you today.
And it builds right on everything we just talked about.
So look at your own life right now. Think about your own ecosystem. Of the 8 pillars we discussed, physical, mental, memory, daily living, housing, financial, caregiver support, and social connection, which one is secretly carrying too much weight?
That's a great question.
And conversely, which one is the strongest? Because understanding your own structural balance, your own terrarium, is the very first step to aging well.
I love that. You have to know where you stand before you can figure out where to go.
Exactly. And that is exactly the kind of empowerment we aim to provide.
This podcast was brought to you by The Senior Techie. It's available on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. If you'd like to receive their free newsletters, you can subscribe at subscribe.theseniortechie.com.